12:10 один из самых известных раввинов нашего времени, Манисом Фридманом, в прямом эфире отвечает на вопросы наших слушателей. Вы услышите мнение самой мудрой книги человечества – Библии, о самых сложных проблемах, стоящих перед современным миром. Присылайте ваши вопросы заранее на наш имейл info@rusa.fm или во время передачи по СМС 347 460 08 77.
Добрый день всем, кто сейчас настроен на радио USA. Сегодня вторник. По вторникам я просыпаюсь и говорю «Thank God it's Tuesday», потому что у нас есть возможность немножко оздоровиться, а вообще-то даже множко, потому что с нами проводит этот час совершенно уникальный раввин, подарок нашего поколения от Всевышнего, раввин Манисом Фридманом, который просто настолько четко излагает нам наш сегодняшний мир, и за это мы ему очень-очень благодарны. А сегодня у нас особо тяжелая задача, потому что вот мы поняли, что на самом деле, и это неизбежно, но вот это поколение Z, оно абсолютно конкретно и уже теперь очень агрессивно меняет наш мир, меняет всю нашу реальность. У них свои взгляды, свои понимания, свое все, и они имеют власть, потому что за Зохрана Мамдани проголосовали именно они, именно это поколение Z. Вот. Так что это становится немножко страшно, а чтобы не было страшно, надо понять, кто они такие и как к ним относиться. Наверное, лучше понимать, чем просто бояться. Так что вот давайте попробуем сделать это сегодня с раввином Манисом Фридманом, который уже с нами, Rabbi Манисом Фридман. Hello, thank God it's Tuesday. We have, as I just said it to our listeners, our audience, we have a very, very tough topic today. As of few weeks ago, we understood that Generation Z, which is the generation that the new generation, which is kind of taking over the world, that's generation that was born between 1997 and 2012. They're the ones who are calling the shots right now, and they called the shots in New York 2 weeks ago when they elected Zohran Mamdani, and they have their own views, they have their own values, they have their own ways of life, they have their own approach to everything, and they're the ones who are changing the social makeup of our world. They're changing our world. So at first glance, it's a little scary, but that's why we turn to you, because we need to understand what we're dealing with here, how to view it, how to understand it, and how to live with it. So, Rabbi Friedman, counting on you once again to explain what is this generation and how should we deal with this.
Is it scary?
Well, when they elect Mamdani, yes, it is. Yes, it is. The progressive views, yeah. I did a lot more research than I usually do. I don't think about this generation so much usually. You know, every generation has their own things, their own values, their own everything. And preparing for the show, I kind of started to compare pretty much from my generation, which is Generation X, and all the way through the millennials, and and you see this very interesting evolution. But what kind of evolution is it? What kind of evolution of values, of morals, of tactics, of political, economic, all these views, they are so different with every generation, and they're progressing.
So what's wrong with progressing?
Depends where we're progressing towards.
Is it progressing or regressing?
I think that's the big question of today. Because obviously this generation is all about progress, it's all about reform, it's all about inclusion, acceptance, justice. So it seems like it's all for the good and right, but it's not. Why?
We got to go really deep to the core of life itself. Every revolution, every progressive movement is originally motivated by something positive and good. And that is, they want to make life on earth better. Sometimes purely physical, material. They just want a bigger country. They want more power. They want more money. Very often it's ideological. They want life to be better. The ideological ones are more scary because they feel more justified. They feel more righteous. So if you're against them, you're evil. See, if you're against progress, and you don't want to be richer, you don't want to have a bigger house, you don't want to have more money, you don't want to have a bigger country, then you're just ignorant, backwards, and the pity is on you. But those ideological revolutions, if you don't agree with them, you become the enemy. So it's much more dangerous. The problem with the whole thing is, who says that life can be more meaningful? You're making a whole revolution. You're changing everything. You're willing to even risk your life, certainly devote your life, to this ideology that is going to make life better. Life cannot be better. That's the problem. But that sounds really depressing. You're trying to justify what is not justifiable. You're trying to give significance to something that has no significance. But on the other hand, what should you do? Admit that life is unnecessary and frustrating and difficult, and that's it? If we appreciate what the Baal Shem Tov did, and of course what the Alter Rebbe did, in the little town of Lubavitch. How's it pronounced? Lubavici?
I think Lubavitch. Lubavitch.
We pronounce
Lubavitch.
it.
Mm-hmm.
So here is the truth for those who can handle it. There is nothing besides the Creator. When we say one God, Hashem Echad, no idolatry, the deep meaning of that is that there is nothing besides Him. Not that there isn't another God. That's like kindergarten stuff. Of course, there's only one Creator. That's not news. The news is there is nothing besides a Creator. But of course, that's not easy to explain. You just said He's a Creator. Well, a Creator means two things. a creator and his creation. So you can't say that Beethoven is the only thing in the world. The only reason Beethoven is famous is because he created good music. So there's the composer and there's the composition. So what do you mean there's only the composer? There's a creator, which means there's a creation. So there are at least two things. How can you say there's only one? For 7 generations, beginning with the Alter Rebbe in Ladi, the leaders and the teachers and the Rebbes of Chabad have explained deeply, thoroughly, brilliantly how the creation is not an existence. It doesn't exist if it needs to be created. It's like if you throw a stone into the air, in a few seconds it's going to fall back to the earth. Why? Because a stone can't fly. But you made it fly. Why can't it continue flying once you teach it to fly? So it flies for a few minutes. If you keep practicing, the stone will learn to fly. No, it won't. Because even while it's flying, it is not capable of flying. You made it fly. So it all depends on how long you can make it fly. It will never learn to fly. The same is true with creation. God created a physical universe. Everything that exists did not exist. Now it does. So, well, can it go on existing? No, it can't. It can only go on being created. It cannot exist. So, are there two things that are existing, God and his creation? No. God exists, creation does not. And therefore it has to be created all the time, or it will go back to being nothing, just like the stone goes back to sitting on the earth. Brilliant, brilliant, thorough, according to Kabbalah, according to the Talmud, according to the Midrash, all sorts of profound explanations how the physical universe is nothing. Which applies also to its significance. What makes the physical world significant? Nothing. If God stops creating it, it will go back to being nothing. It won't even be a memory. Because there is nothing to the creation other than the fact it's created. So there's only a creator. Creation does not have a separate existence. In other words, your material life, your physical life, is totally empty, meaningless, and unnecessary. But can't we make it a little more meaningful? No, you can't. Can we make it necessary? No, you can't. So stop. Stop trying. You're only frustrating yourself and everybody else. Every revolution, every improvement in the physical conditions and the economic conditions, it doesn't go anywhere. Because it doesn't work. The physical universe has no excuse for existing, no matter what you do with it. Stop trying to find meaning in the physical. There is none. So the question of how can we say there's only God when there's a creation? There's no creation. Now we got a second problem. You can say creation means nothing, mountains, oceans, rivers, stars, planets. It's all nothing. totally unnecessary and unjustified. Because if it disappeared tomorrow, all of it, who would care? Who would care? Nobody. If there wasn't a world, what would be wrong? Nothing. So the world's existence is as significant as its non-existence. It doesn't make a difference. Philosophers who were nihilists, they kept saying meaningful, existent, meaningless, that's all meaningless. And the wisest man in the world said, vanity, that's all vanity. Shlomo HaMelech. So, there's only God because creation is meaningless, empty, and invalid. But what about the Torah? And what about the Jewish people? Aren't we a little part of God? So you can't say there's only God, there's also us. And you can't say we're nothing, we're a little piece of God. And you can't say the Torah is nothing. It's God, it's word, thought. You can't dismiss it as nothing. So how is God the only thing? See, there are at least three things. There's God, there's the Torah, and there's... So how do you say there's only God? The answer is, and this has been explained in 7 generations of Hasidus, God and Jews are one. When you say you're a little piece of God, if you're a little piece of God, then you are Him. You're not something else. You're only a piece of Him. Torah is not...
So what are you saying? The whole world can disappear, but Jewish people cannot?
Right. Yes. We're an eternal people.
I think we're just spiking a little bit more anti-Semitism right now with this kind of conversation.
Let's just say that that's what we believe, okay?
Oh, okay.
Right? We believe that we're, yeah. So if you believe you're a little piece of God, how can you say there's only God? The answer is, because if I'm a little piece of God, then I'm not anything besides Him. And if Torah is His wisdom and His will, then it's not something in addition to Him, that's Him. So here's the picture, whether you're Jewish or not. Creation has absolutely no validity. God and His Torah are absolutely one. So what do we now have? God is the only thing that exists. Because the Torah and His commandments, that's Him, not something in addition to Him. And the world, oh, that's nothing. Now, the more thoroughly we understand how the world is nothing, the closer we get to the truth. But if the world is nothing, then what are we here for? These commandments that God gave us, they're everything. So the physical world is nothing. The Torah, God's commandments, everything. They're Him. So it's true, there is nothing besides God, which means either you're with Him or you're nothing. It's a hard sell. If you're following God's commandments, Jew or non-Jew, You're everything. If you're not following his commandments, your life is absolutely nothing. It's a very, very complex and profound way, something very simple. And that is, we exist to serve him. Well, what does that mean? It means if you're serving him, then you exist. If you're not serving him, you might as well not exist. Stop trying to infuse the physical with meaning. Stop it. Every generation, always there are people who think, oh no, I'm going to make life so good. No, you're not. Give it up already. Communism is over. That's why the Jews were so enthusiastic about communism. Because it seemed to promise that the physical existence can become heavenly. If the workers were free, if everyone was equal, whatever the whole philosophy is, then living would be worthwhile. No, it won't. Okay, so let's try democracy. If we have a truly democratic government, if we have a truly democratic society, and everyone is free to follow their own, then life will be wonderful. No, it won't. How many times are you going to try? The only way life means anything is if you realize that it's meaningless. But if it's meaningless, what do I do with myself? Oh, you serve God, and that's everything. Generation Z making the same mistake again. Stop trying to salvage the planet. It's not worth and it's not justified. There is no reason for it to exist. And nothing you're going to do is going to change that. Except serve God. Religion is not an artificial lifestyle, and it's not a belief. There is only God. If you're with him, you're real. If you're not with him, you're not real. Either you have a purpose or you don't need to be here. Pretty scary.
Rabbi Friedman, but how do we get this generation back if it's been lost for so many generations prior to this generation? Some of the values that they have are very righteous values. It seems like they want the good things, but there's no education behind any of that agenda. I mean, racial justice is kindness. You can say it's kindness. They're open-minded, inclusive, willing to adopt new ideas, justice, fairness. I mean, they want everybody to be more or less equal. I mean, there are a lot of ideas in all of this that come from Torah, from the Ten Commandments, the kindness. I mean, we're waiting for Mashiach. That's equality, if I understand it correctly. So there are some ideas that are leading in the right direction, but it is so off. It is so incredibly off. But I believe the good intent is still behind everything that they're trying to accomplish.
Yeah. They want to make life meaningful. Good idea. Mm-hmm. But we've tried that so many times. And it's not that before we didn't have the right idea, now we have the right idea. No, they all fail because life cannot be justified. It's so, they want equality. They want all people to be equal. Equal to whom? It's an impossible thought. Everybody wants everyone to be equal. In the Inquisition, Christians, the church, wanted everyone to be Christian. Equal. But then Islam came along and said, no, if you want to be equal, we all have to be Muslims. Sharia law. Communism came along and said, no, in order to be equal, everyone has to be a communist. Because if you're not a communist, you're not equal. So the whole world has to become communist. Then we'll be equal. It's a crazy idea. It's a crazy idea. Equal according to whom? Oh, that's a little complication in the whole plan. You want kindness. What kindness? Whose kindness? Whose opinion of kindness? Let murderers run free. That's kind to the murderer, not to his victims. You can't do it. You cannot do it. And we're trying it again, and it's so sad. The best people, the most motivated people, and they're doing the same stupid thing again. So let's try this. Life cannot have any significance. The physical world cannot have any justification if the Creator is not intimately involved. If you're serving the Creator, you've got something going. If you're not serving the Creator, there's no reason to exist. You want to save the planet. What a great idea. Saving it for what? For what? So that we can have clean rivers. Yeah. And? Well, then we'll be able to drink the water. Yeah. And then life is meaningful. No, it's not. So here's a painful question. You want to save all the species that are threatened. You want to clean up the ocean. You want to clean up the air. Good project. But clean air, healthy water, the survival of all the species, or absolute nothingness. No species, no air, no water, no rivers. Just as good. Just as good. Clean water and no water. Just as good. A comfortable, painless life and no life at all? Exactly the same. In fact, no life at all would be a lot better. Because a successful, affluent, healthy life can always deteriorate and you can get sick. But if you don't exist, you'll never have a problem. So here's the question. Having a cleaner environment is better than no environment at all? Nope. No. Having a life is better than not having a life? No. We're afraid to think of that because it'll make us all suicidal. But that's because Generation Z does not know its Creator. If you know the Creator and you know how deeply, eternally, cosmically, the world means something to him, now you have an excuse for existing. Otherwise, you have no excuse. You know what's interesting? The letter Z is the last letter. The way it's designed, I don't know whoever created the letters, the alphabet. It's a very interesting design. It starts on the left side, goes to the right, goes down, back to the left, and then back to the right. It is the perfect symbol for beginning to end. Because the left side is the beginning. It's the past. We always write from left to right, except in Hebrew. So it's from left to right. The left means where you're coming from, your past. The right is where you're going, which means the future. The last letter of the alphabet is not a period. In other words, it's not the end. The end of the alphabet means connect the beginning to where we're going. From beginning to end. It's an interesting letter. The Hebrew letter, Tuf, is the last letter of the Hebrew alphabet. It has something very similar. It's the last letter. It represents the objective, the goal, the tachlis, begins with a taf. But it has a little hook at the bottom that goes to the right, to the left, because we're moving from right to left in Hebrew. So the taf represents the end that points to the future. Isn't that interesting? It's the end that brings us into the future. So the end is not the end. Same thing with a Z. It starts from the past, but it points back to the future. Back to the future. So Generation Z is going to have to get it together because it is the final letter. But the final letter keeps looking backwards. Can't you look forward for once? Look forward. There is nothing in the past. There's nothing in history. There's nothing in existence. The world exists for thousands of years, billions of years, and it's nothing. If it disappeared tomorrow, no one would care. Except the Creator. If you have the cares of the Creator, then you understand this world. If not, you're living in the past, and there's nothing wonderful about that. Which is why you feel a need to make a revolution. But you're making a revolution by going back to the past.
Makes sense. Reforming everything means going backwards and changing it around. Never thought of it that way. It's not the future. It actually recycling.
Yes.
Rabbi Friedman, it's, you know, I don't know how many people are with it, what we're talking about. I don't know how with it I am about what we're talking about. It's very, very deep, it's very profound, and it's very, very hard to process because it's absolutely the opposite of everything we know. And usually when I take your ideas into my circles of very intelligent people and discuss it, I appear to be a Looney Tune. So how far ahead are we of where we can comprehend what you have just said to us today? Because it's very deep, it's very profound, it's very opposite of everything we've known. When are we going to catch up to this? What do you think?
We are catching up. We're definitely catching up. Catching on. Right? You speak to an environmentalist, wants to clean up the environment, wants to have a clean, healthy universe. Two questions. Whose universe is it? You're the cleaning crew? You're the sanitation department of the world? Whose world are you cleaning? That's number one. Number two, this world is going to need cleaning like forever. Wouldn't it be better it just shouldn't exist at all? Why not? If it exists, it's going to need cleaning. It's a thankless, pointless job. If the world just stopped existing, we wouldn't have to clean it. We would have nothing to worry about. There'd be no difficulties. There'd be no pain. There'd be no suffering. Call it off. Stop it. So the more idealistic you are, the closer you get to these questions. We must clean up the world. We must clean up the ocean. Why is there an ocean? If there wasn't an ocean, you have nothing to worry about. So it almost forces you to think of why. All you're doing is explaining what. What needs to happen? Oh, we need to clean up the ocean. Why? Why is there an ocean? Why is there pollutants? Why is there anything? And if you don't have an answer to that, you're part of the problem. If you don't have an answer to why we're here, you're part of the problem. Oh, but you think that if we change some politics, everything would be good. Don't do that again. Again. You know, you can actually write the Z backwards. You can start from the bottom and go from the future back to the past. The trick is, go the right way. Go in the right direction. Don't make the same mistakes again and again and again. Make this God's world. That's the only way the world is going to be justified. If it's just a world with pollution, call it off. Stop trying to clean up a mess. Call it off. People will say, well, you can't call it off. You can't end the world. Oh, so you're saying we're just stuck in a miserable situation. Well, that's a happy thought. Oh, this planet can't live with it, can't live without it. Now, monotheism, and all Jews are proud of the fact that we brought monotheism to the world. Monotheism is not as simple as it sounds. Monotheism is not so much a description of God, it's a description of everything else. Everything else. What is it doing here? What is it? There's supposed to be only God. That's monotheism. So if there's supposed to be nothing besides God, what is this whole universe you're worried about? What is your life that you're suffering for? Don't know the answer? Well, then you're part of the problem. And what are all these mitzvahs and divine events and the miracles and the stories and the event at Sinai and the burning bush and the Exodus? And what is that all about? It's also nothing. That can't be. That's God talking. So that has to be absolutely Him. So where do we fit in? Well, either we are Him, expressing His will, or we're just part of the clutter that is better off not existing.
A lot to take in. A lot.
Okay, so you see symptoms of it because people everywhere are asking, why am I here? It's a byproduct. You want to heal everybody. You want the world to be perfectly honest and true. I mean, the whole big, beautiful bill. You want to make everything perfect. You want to make everything right. And once you reach that level, you almost have to ask, why am I here in the first place? Yeah, I can fix the problem. I can put a Band-Aid on it. I can have a good government for a change. Yeah, and that's why we're here. You're trying to make life a little less painful. Okay, and if it's less painful, then we need to be here. Then we know why we're here. In some way, if you're in pain, you're better off. Because if you're in pain, you look for a painkiller. You look for a cure. But if you're cured, what are you going to do then? Then you're going to say, why am I here? Why was I born? This is where we are now. We have many ideas on how to make life better, but then we're asking ourselves, why life at all? So we are getting somewhere. For thousands of years, all we asked is how. How do we make life better? Now we're asking why. Why? If you're asking why, you're kind of admitting that making it better is not the solution. Because even when it's better, even when it's best, the question of why remains. So let's just get to the main question and skip the middleman.
So the word of the day is why. And we have to keep on asking it every step of the way to get to understand the truth. The truth is there all the time. Rabbi Friedman.
I have a good example for it. I'll make it quick.
Sure.
I was speaking to these kids, Jewish kids, who had gotten caught up in the transcendental meditation with Maharishi's International University in Iowa. So I'm talking to them, and they said, the Maharishi can teach us to levitate. He can teach. Next time he comes here, he's going to teach us to levitate. I said, yeah. He says, no, really, he's going to teach us to levitate. I said, yeah, okay. He says, you don't believe me? I said, I believe you. So what's going to be if you can levitate? So you'll save yourself a flight. And by the way, how is Maharishi coming to America? By levitating or by taking an airplane? So he couldn't believe the why question. It's not, can you really levitate? Is it possible for a human being to levitate? Wow, he's going to teach us. Why? If everyone could levitate, now what? So we've been bumping into each other in the air? Shooting each other down because it's getting crowded up there? Why? So yeah, you can learn to levitate. And then life will be wonderful. No, it won't. So you can clean up the oceans, and then what? So you can fix the government, and then what? The closer we get to fixing government, the more you have to ask why. The closer you get to finishing your project, you're going to have to ask why. And there's only one why. There is only one. And that's the Creator's purpose. And if you don't know what that is, you don't know nothing.
Rabbi Fridman.
As we say.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you. Thank you for setting us straight, for giving us the clarity that we desperately need, that we don't sidetrack to what's important and to most important question, why? Rabbi Fridman, thank you so, so much. Thank you for this time that you allocate for us and for the wisdom that we are capable of getting from you, not just today, but through everything you do, your books, your podcasts, your lectures, and everything. Thank you so much for everything you're doing for the world today. And there's a lot more to discuss about everything, so hopefully we'll get that chance again next. Thank God it's Tuesday. And in the meantime, have a wonderful, wonderful week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ну а всем, кто нас сегодня слушал, большое вам спасибо. Спасибо, что вы есть. Спасибо, что вы так же, как все люди сегодня, на самом деле, хотим лучшего, хотим светлого, хотим доброго, хотим мирного. И теперь мы знаем, какой вопрос надо задавать. Вопрос, который надо задавать. А зачем? Почему? И надеюсь, что этот вопрос, который нам посоветовал задавать сегодня Ребе Манисом Фридман, почему, приведет нас к той правде, которую мы так ищем. С этими словами я, Аня Пекерман, и передача Thank God It's Tuesday. Прощаемся со всеми до следующей недели.